Alrighty, YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. The 49ers have regained first place in the NFC West after Baltimore just simply beat the daylights out of Seattle today. Obviously, with the 49ers on a bye week, I think a lot of 49ers fans were probably, watching this Seattle game, knowing that, if Seattle loses, the 49ers then regain first place in the NFC West. I think going into the game, I was pretty confident that Seattle was probably going to lose. The Baltimore Ravens are legit. I haven't been able to say that about them in a long time, but I think this season, Baltimore, I mean, obviously, they made Lamar Jackson happy with signing him to a massive contract extension in the offseason after all the trade rumors and, after him requesting a trade. But as expected, they got a deal done and were able to bring him back, and they are on a roll. Credit to the Baltimore Ravens defense. The Baltimore Ravens have a top 3, top 4 defense in the league. Going into the game, Baltimore was number 1 against the pass. I just figured, like, Geno hasn't been great all year. He's been good enough. The Seahawks have always found a way to win games. As long as, Pete Carroll is in Seattle, I think that's probably going to continue. But at some point in time, when you play a team, your quarterback can only play so bad, and that's exactly what we've seen today. Geno just simply, he was under pressure half of the time. He threw, an interception. The Ravens defense simply just shut down the Seattle Seahawks all game long. Final score was like 37-3. They beat Seattle by 34 points. So yeah, good news. Obviously, San Francisco's back atop of the NFC West. And I mean, obviously, coming out of the bye week, San Francisco has Jacksonville, which is, this game coming up next week. So they're going to have to get back on track, but it's good to know right now that Seattle lost and San Francisco then obviously retakes the lead in the NFC West as the number 1 seed. Yeah, that's the good news. And then obviously right now, which is currently on TV behind me, we have the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Actually, it's on halftime. I'm watching Red Zone, so they're showing the Colts game. But yeah, so that's another massive game. Dallas is up by 3, I think. Yeah, Dallas is up by 3. So that's another massive game. That's America's game of the week. It'll be interesting to see who wins that game. I think Dallas has honestly played fine. They're going to have to keep rolling. I think in the end, Philly should win this game, but we'll see what happens. So obviously, there's 2 big games because, I mean, with Dallas sitting at 6-2, I believe they are. If they lose, obviously, then they'll move back to 6-3. And then of course with Philadelphia, I mean, I think, they're 7-1. If they lose today, that's huge because that then puts San Francisco right back in the mix. To get the number 1 seed. But it's going to be really hard seeing Philly lose more than 3 times, if they even lose 3 times this year. They're just complete, again, I mean, I've said this all year long, but it's going to probably be San Francisco and Philadelphia again in the NFC Championship, for a trip back to the Super Bowl. But, I mean, look, I think with Dallas, we all know they're pretenders. They're a regular season team. They do good in the regular season, and then when it matters most, and Dak plays a pretty good defense, which he is playing well, today, so I will give him credit in terms of that. But we know when it matters most, Dak can't show up, especially in the playoffs. So, again, when it's all said and done, I think we can all agree that it'll be San Francisco and Philly to go back to the NFC Championship, or to go back to the Super Bowl in the NFC Championship. But yeah, so that game's going to be interesting. Obviously, like I said, it's 17-14 at halftime currently, so that's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out. But yeah, other than that, again, San Francisco atop of the NFC West, so that's the good news for the Niners fans today. I don't think we're really going to have to worry. I mean, obviously San Francisco, that's betting on them to turn things around, which again they will. But I think it's pretty safe to say that there's no real competition in the NFC West for the 49ers. I mean, I get the Seattle game's always going to be tough, but I think with Seattle, I mean when they play a top team, it seems like they can't ever get something done, and they can't ever like come out on top. When they're playing a top team with a really really good defense. So again, going in, because obviously we have Seattle two times in 3 weeks coming up after this bye week. And I mean, like every year, whenever we play Seattle, it's always going to be a competitive game. It never has not been competitive. But yeah, I think in the end, I mean, last year, obviously in the playoffs, the 49ers kind of whooped on them, but they made it close, coming out of the jump, and early in that game. But at the end of the day, I think the 49ers obviously should win, their division. But obviously it all starts coming out of this bye week next week. But it's obviously good to know, that the 49ers are back atop where they belong.